Hello, everyone. My name is Jesus, and I'm here followed by Unique V. I think I said that correct. Did I say that
Yes,
correct?
correct.
Perfect. And today, our topic is going to be about singleness. Well, at least for me, I call it singleness and the meaning behind it and why it's important. Um, I like to say this topic actually wasn't mine. It's actually Unique's, or I like to call V. That's her nickname. It wasn't actually my topic, and I actually never saw it that way until I actually started listening to you tell me about it. What singleness meant. I always saw being single as not as a bad thing, but as a good thing. Because when I think about relationships, and then when you get out of a relationship, and uh, you're single for a certain period of time, you actually learn about yourself a lot, and a lot of people don't tend to do that when they're in a relationship. They tend to get right into another one, and then they don't learn from that relationship, and therefore, um, once they get to this new one, they're having all these issues because they didn't fix the issues that were in the past relationship. And that's what I tell people. It's very important that you take time for yourself after a relationship and learn from the situations and learn what you could do different. But some people have certain issues. They're afraid to be alone, therefore they jump into another relationship, and therefore it doesn't give them that time to grow. At least that's the way I see it. Obviously not everybody else does that, but I tend to notice that more in women than men, sometimes, not always. But anyways, V, I'd like to give you the opportunity to say what you want to say about that, because this is technically your topic.
All right. First of all, I would like to say thank you for having me here. And I would like to share about my experience about what is singleness. The first time I write my blog about singleness is actually also, it's kind of hard for me because I have to find out first what is the singleness is. So basically, for me personally, singleness is just about finding yourself and loving yourself, valuing yourself, and also putting the highest estimation on yourself. And the advantage of being single itself, for me, you have the opportunity to follow your dreams and your calling, and also looking for your passion, your gift, and also your life's purpose. And also you have the opportunity to focus on your own happiness without balancing that of a partner's. And also you have the opportunity to spend time on improving yourself, because so many people, they don't have time to improving their self because they have partners and they're busy with them. So becoming the best version of yourself. And this is very important, when you accept yourself, you are freed from the burden of needing others to accept you. And for me personally, I don't allow anyone or anything to control, limits, or even discourage you from being your true self. That is why I always like to talk about the singleness, because this is the foundation of our relationship we have, including our relationship with our partners, our friends, our family, or our coworkers, everything. So I think singleness is the foundation of all relationship, and this is the thing that we have to pursue and not avoid it.
I agree. Yeah, definitely. At least for me, I would say that, um, you know, being single gives you the opportunity to learn about yourself and learn about other people's relationships as well. You really get into this mindset of starting to realize, who am I? What am I? What do I want? And I
Yeah.
think people don't tend to do that. They tend to steer away from that and just focus on being in a relationship. And I was the thing that I noticed too is that we're so I guess you could say told and programmed in our minds of, hey, like, you need to be in a relationship, you need to be with somebody else in order to be happy. And I think that's one thing that affects a lot of people, is that we start thinking the only way I can be happy is in a relationship. And that's the only way I know how, and that's the only way that we're taught with movies and everyone in your your group. You have friends that start telling you, hey, you have a girlfriend or a boyfriend. At least that's the way we experience it here. And it's just even that itself, hearing that can be very stressful for some people, because um, then they have these kind of thoughts in their mind like, well, haven't had a girlfriend or a boyfriend for this amount of time, I must not be good enough. They start having these
Mm-hmm.
thoughts, and that's actually not true. Like me and you, we've discussed, we've been single sometimes for a long time, and that
Yes,
doesn't mean,
definitely.
yeah, we've been single for a long time sometimes. And it doesn't mean that we're not good enough. It doesn't mean that we can't find someone. It's just, we're just busy trying to find ourselves first. Because, what's the purpose of getting into a new relationship if you don't even know who you are, You'd want
Correct.
to be the best person you can be in a relationship. But like I said, sometimes people don't think about that. Like, what would you say about that?
Well, for me, we have been driven by our culture to learn to relate to other people, right? So that's why we have been conditioned. You've been trained to focus on other people. And then that's why we're not equipped to have a relationship. You cannot have an interpersonal relationship until you have settled the intrapersonal relationship. The foundation of our problems is that we don't know how to love ourselves. And we have never been taught how to love ourselves. We keep expecting success when we are building with failure, For me, if you don't know who you are and you don't know what you want, then you cannot love to appreciate or value other people. I think that is my opinion about that.
No, I definitely agree with that for sure. If you can't value yourself, how can you value someone else? And that also kind of goes with the topic of singleness and self-love, because like you
Mm-hmm.
said, self-love, it's not easy. Definitely not easy. It's
Right.
been a rough journey for me and you. We discussed it, and it's taken years. It's not, a walk in the park. It's not something that just happens overnight. For me, it's taken a while, because you have to break down all these barriers of things that you don't like about yourself. And the one things I
Mm-hmm.
used to always attack myself for was not being in a relationship, taking so many years of not being in a relationship. And like I said, those things that I question myself, like, well, am I good enough? Or am I even worthier? Does nobody even want me, kind of thing? But, you know, it's just things I needed to heal. And that's something that I, like, would tell people is self love. Like, that's a whole different topic on its own. But we've been so programmed not, you know, to not really love ourselves. We've been taught to actually do the opposite and hate ourselves,
Mm-hmm.
or look at every issue about ourselves that we don't like and amplify it. And that's such a big issue, because I wish somebody would taught me how to love myself, or would kind of
Mm-hmm.
give me the ropes, but nobody really talks about it. Nobody really brings it up, because it's kind of like hard topic for at least men to, at least I could describe from men's perspective. It's kind of hard to really talk about that with men, and say, hey, I'm learning to love myself, or hey, I'm actually been single for quite some time. The one thing I hear from men, at least in this hookup culture, is that, oh, like, who you sleeping with, or how many people you've been with, and it's just like, it's sad that that's kind of like the culture for me or for our friends. It's just like, unless you're hooking up with somebody or you're with somebody new, it means you're not doing good. You have to be with somebody, and
Mm-hmm.
then that's what kind of discourages people from being single. At least that's what I think. But
Well,
I'm sorry.
yes, yes.
No, go ahead. I interrupted.
It's okay. You can continue.
No, so I was just saying, like, I was to talk more about, your opinion on self love and how it relates to singleness.
Okay. For me personally, self-love is pretty hard to apply on myself because a lot of negativity the negative thoughts that always telling me that I'm not good enough and you don't deserve to have a good relationship with others. And when I realized that I don't need to listen to that negative thoughts, that's how I have to prepare myself to really love myself. It is important because if you don't love yourself, you always want people to love you. You always need people to always love you. And if they don't love you, the whole bottom falls out because you don't feel loved again. So for me, self-love is important because even nobody loves you, you are still loved by God. You love yourself so much that you don't need people to always love you or accept you because you are whole. Once you whole, you don't need people to complete you. This is why I don't really agree with other opinions that say, oh, they are my better half. You complete me. I don't disagree with that. What about if they don't exist? I mean, like, what about if they don't really give what you need? What do you want from your relationship? Do you really want them to always complete you? What about their part is done? So you will feel empty again and you're not whole. So for me, before you start your relationship, you have to be whole person. If you are whole, you don't need people to always value you, to always give you attention or all the stuff, because you know how to place yourself, you know how to behave yourself, even there's nobody love you. So self-love resulting self-confidence, and also self-love resulting self-concept, the way how you picture yourself. You don't have other people to always picture you because their opinion is not, it doesn't matter for you. One time I have one testimony with myself, with my friend too. When I go to the shop, I really love to buy that clothes, and once I put on the dress, and then my friend say, "What do you think?" And then he say, "No, this is not good for you." And I say, "Oh, okay, well, that's your opinion for me, but I really like this dress, so I'm gonna buy it, because even you don't see good in me wearing this dress, I will still love myself because I love this dress." So this kind of mindset you have to change. Whatever others' opinion, if you think that this is not good for you, it doesn't mean that it's good for them. For me now, I don't need other people's opinion to say I am good or I'm not good enough. No, before I met them, before I know them, I'm already loved. I'm already like myself so much, so that I don't need people to always tell me that I am good enough or I'm nice or I am good when I'm wearing this dress. No, before they start saying that, I already know that I love this and this is the way I am. So just accept me the way I am, because I think many people, they don't know how to treat everybody as who they are. They always want people to, like, some kind of picture, the self-concept of they have is always picture, paint people to always look based on their opinion. And I think we have to change that mindset.
You're absolutely right. I was just thinking right now, with the whole self-love and not caring what other people think about you. What a lot of people should be doing, instead of trying to date, after a relationship, or even if they've been single, is learn to love themselves. Start, and the way I've learned to do that through this journey is looking at myself and looking at things I don't like about myself and asking myself why I don't like these things. I could speak up on my insecurities that I've had, or problems in past relationships. But in the end of the day, it's kind of looking at that and doing a really big, deep self-reflection of yourself, and coming to the point of realizing, hey, is this person that I'm seeing really me, or is it, based off like the perspective of other people that I'm kind of, putting on myself? And it's just like, for me, through my journey of trying to, self-love, I've been breaking down things about myself that I've been told, not to like. And every day, I get better at doing it. And it's been, it's been great to actually finally look at yourself and say, wow, I actually love myself. Because, we always have these negative people. They will bring you down for whatever you say, or they might be your friends, but they might be secretly not. They say little things, like, oh, I don't like the stress on you, kind of thing. And sometimes you have to be able to not let that get to you, because you love yourself to that point that no matter what anyone says, no one could ever change the perspective that you feel about yourself.
Right.
And I had a friend that he was doing quite, the opposite of what we're talking about, but he was constantly like getting into a relationship, or being with another person. And then after this whole pandemic hit, he really took a break from dating, because most people weren't really going out as much. And it was amazing to hear from him, from him being single for actually quite some time. It was like, after being single for so long, and I reflected on myself. I learned about so many things that I did bad, so many things that I, like, that I don't like about myself, or things that I did to ruin the relationship. And I was like so happy to hear that, because I had confirmation from someone else. They kind of said exactly what I had gone through my journey, is that I started learning about the mistakes that I made, things that I wasn't seeing. And another thing too is that people tend to play the victim, and tend to blame other people for their reasons not to love themselves. They use that, and that's kind of that pandemic that I really see in society, is this whole identity thing. But that being said, um, self love comes with dating, and when you love yourself, you can truly, give yourself to someone else. And I kind of want to touch back on what you said about the fact of when you are like, this whole idea of, oh, you complete me, or I need you to be my other half, what we've been programmed to think. But the reality is, you are a whole person as your own. I learned that from somebody. And to me, that was like, I was mind blown, because all my life I've been taught, I need to find somebody to complete me. If I don't find somebody to complete me, then I'm never going to be happy. And a lot of people are, taught that same mindset. But the reality is, like I said, you are a whole person. You don't need somebody else to complete you. You can find your own happiness. You can do that through self-love. But people are afraid to kind of go beyond that boundary, is what I'm seeing, because it's not easy. It's not easy to challenge your shadows, challenge the things that you're so afraid to look at. But when you learn to love yourself, and you learn to see yourself for who you really are, and how beautiful you are inside, the whole world becomes different. Everything changes. You start seeing people that no longer like serve you, the people that are actually meant for you. And you start, going and meeting people that really align with your soul. And with that being said, it's just crazy that people are, we're actually not people, us, we've been conditioned to think that way for all our lives. Even my parents, and our parents and your parents always kind of believe this. And it's crazy that's been going on for years. But, for people watching this, you don't need somebody else to complete you. All you need is yourself. When you learn to love yourself, you can truly see yourself as a person you need to be.
Yes. So the first thing that I want to say is, you need to be okay with being alone. Because if you say you are single, that means you are alone with yourself, no one else there. A lot of people, they are afraid to be alone because they are not ready, or they are not really, really single. What I mean by you need to be okay with being alone is, you have to accept that you are enough. I understand we want someone in our life. I understand we don't want to feel alone. I don't either, and neither does anyone walking on this planet. But you have to remind yourself that you should be happy when you are by yourself. That's what I always keep in mind as a single, because your happiness, focus, and hunger of life can't depend on somebody else. I understand that on some level, this is impossible. Most of us gain happiness from having a partner, but you can't allow someone's absence to define your life. Like, your happiness is a choice, and relationship isn't going to fix you. You choose how you perceive the world. And if you realize this and continue to see the world the way you do now, that's on you. Everything starts with ourselves, okay? But if you force yourself to change, you can change your perspective, the way you think. Oh, I have to love myself, or I have to be single. It's all by choice, though. Happiness isn't finding the right person for me, but happiness is being the right person. The only way you got to find the right person is to be the right person in heart. You can't control who attract, but you can control who you are, the kind of person you want to be, and you will automatically attract to this kind of person, And also, getting into a relationship before you're emotionally and mentally prepared reduce the chance it will work out. How can someone else love you when the you isn't your true self? Just tell me now. How can you be fully loved when you don't know what love is? So for me personally, love is free. You have choice to love. Even God is love, right? The reason why I say I am love, because God is always give us something that is valuable. If you can see yourself, you are valuable, you are precious, you will think differently. And once you know who you really are, of course, if you want to find or kind of like self-discovery to find out who you really are, you have to know the source. Where do you came from? When you say you came from God, that God is love, so that means you have that love that God has. So what you have to do is you share that love. That is why it's important for us to be whole person. It's not half person. It's because when you be a whole person, you have so much love to give, to share to other people. You don't have to think about they might not, return it to you, or if I give you, you have to give me back. No, love is not like that. For me, love is not like that. Love is something that you give to other people, and you don't have to think that they will return back to you, because you have so much love to give. Even you don't expect someone to love you, you will still be okay. That is why I said it's okay to be alone, but not lonely. It's different. Okay, being alone and lonely, it's different, because loneliness is kind of manifests from self-hatred. If you don't love yourself, you kind of being loneliness, and you just isolate yourself, not to go out and see the beautiful world. I just don't understand why people are so afraid of being alone, especially they are single. They always want people to always love them, because I think the problem is that they are not single. Yeah, so I think that's the biggest problem.
No, I agree. I think that a lot, but the way I can answer it is, it depends on many variables why you're afraid to be alone. You're afraid to be single. Usually could come from your childhood or past
Mhm.
relationships where you were the one always being dumped or something like that, or you were the one that was always made to feel that you were the problem. So people are afraid, to be alone because, like I said, there's such a stigma about, if you're alone, you're kind of like not want to say worthless, but you're not wanted, so you're not good enough. And people fear not being good enough. People don't want to feel like they're not good enough. They want to feel like it means something. And the reality is that you don't even need anybody to tell you that because the truth is you are. You're worth everything. But people don't see that because we're used to that external validation from people. People need to validate
Right.
my existence. I need people, if I'm dating somebody, they're confirming my existence by them being with me. Or if, in the hookup culture, you're with other women or other men hooking up, often, and you have somebody to you, it makes you feel like, hey, I'm something because somebody wants me. But being single doesn't mean that, and not being with someone doesn't mean that you're nothing.
Right.
Usually people who are single for a long time are actually can do better than people that are not because they actually take the time to reflect and think about what they can do to become better. But people that don't, people that just jump into a relationship, they're really hoping and looking for that external validation. And I see it all the time. If they're in a relationship, they're with another girl, and then they're with another girl, and it's just like, dude, like you haven't been single in so long. Like, aren't you, you're not learning those crucial lessons that you need to learn when you break it or you get out of a relationship after that breakup. You know,
Mhm.
after that happens, there's things that you learn about the relationship that did work, and you need to take time to actually figure that out. But when you're jumping to a new relationship, you're not giving yourself time to learn those lessons that you need to learn. And that's a big issue because if you don't do that, when you jump to this new relationship, you're going to continue making those new mistakes. And
Right.
then it's going to continue over and over a pattern until you address them. And sometimes, like I said, people are afraid to look at their shadows. People are afraid to make and do this work, to be this person. People have this mentality of this person has to come into my life and fix me and
Mhm.
do this and complete me. And that's kind of, like I said, something that I was conditioned to believe for so long. But when you have that mentality, what you end up doing is that you only give yourself room to fail because you're expecting someone else to fix you, like you said. And this also comes with happiness too. I want to kind of talk about, you know, when we're with somebody, that's your external happiness. And that's what people are conditioned to do is this external happiness of being in a relationship and dating somebody. Is that person confirms this external happiness. Well, how much of that is your internal happiness? How many
Mm.
times do you feel happy inside genuinely for yourself instead of requiring somebody else to bring it to you? And it's just this is why, like I said, I think people uh, don't have that much faith in God or don't think God exists because maybe things don't work out for them. But the way I see things and the way it kind of proves it is, I would tell people, you know, don't chase love, let love come to you. And in
Right.
order to do that, you need to work on yourself and heal yourself and take this time to really do the work and find out what you can do to love yourself. And then once you learn to love yourself, you realize you actually don't need somebody. You actually realize that how happy you are by yourself. And then having somebody is just a plus, having somebody else to share your life with is a plus. And then you also see that person in a whole different aspect because you're no longer in these thoughts of how, for men, I would say like being lustful, not seeing women in such a lustful way.
Mhm.
You're seeing women for who she is and exactly what she brings as a person. And you see her for her soul. And but right now, people are really stuck in superficial stuff. Oh, let me see how pretty she is. Let me see uh, how many people she has on, social media, or how many people like her, or how people would say in our terms how bad she is. They say all these things, that it doesn't equal happiness. That doesn't equal self love. That's just ideas that we put into our minds to be this way. And frankly, a lot of people are miserable when they believe in this kind of way, because it's a never ending cycle of uh, not being enough. You need more and more to like complete that aspect of your life that you're not getting from someone else. So you keep doing that over and over instead of
Mhm.
looking within yourself.
So, for me personally, happiness is not from external things. Like sometimes people always find, um, I'm happy if I am with him. I'm happy if I am with her because she or he is my happiness. Well, I can't blame people if they have that perspective because once again, I will say it's all by choice. So, for me personally, I've been single for 15 years. For me personally, happiness is come from within. If you know who you really are, as I said, you don't need people to always love you, to always give you value, or to always say, oh, you're good enough. No. If you are a whole person, you know who you are, and it automatically you are function as a person. But I would like to say that you must choose to honor yourself and respect yourself. You know, a lot of people, they do not respect or honor themselves just because they want to have a relationship. For me personally, if I can say or if I can give any advice to a woman out there, you must choose to be a woman who is honest with yourself and put yourself first. You must understand your worth and your value. And so he or your boyfriend or your partner has to treat you in a way that you want to be treated, that you deserve to be treated. Because a lot of people, if they don't know how to honor or respect them, and then they will be treated by, like, they abuse them. This is another story, right? So for me personally, you must choose to honor your body too. Don't acting like, oh, any guy can get you, no matter who he is, right? So this is not the way. Uh, this is not the way God designed you. He says you are precious, you are valuable. That means yes, you are. So I would like to say, do not devalue your standard to anyone. This is important. It doesn't mean that if you want to have someone in your life, you have to devalue your standard. For me, no, because I have value like a diamond. No matter you cut the diamond into how many pieces, it still remains diamonds. That's how we should value our life, ourselves as a woman. So whatever people find you as a diamond, he is always honor you, he is always respect you, and he will treat you the way you want to be treated. So I think I do not want to blame any other women. Maybe some of them, they will disagree with my opinion, but for me personally, if you can honor yourself and respect yourself as a woman, and that would be easy for your partner to think how to treat your life or yourself, because and you do not devalue your standard to anyone. This is important for a woman especially. And because I have a friend, he's a desperate. He always sleep with somebody just to get some companion. I told her many times, don't do this. You should have, you should respect your body. You should respect. But I think she doesn't want to listen to me. So it's all by choice. I cannot say no, don't. This is her life. As a friend, I just have to give her advice, but the choice is hers. So yeah, do not devalue your standard to anyone.
That's actually a really good point, because I just thought of that. How the fact that a lot of people when they're like in it, or they're trying to date. Because I was writing about this. Um, a lot of people will, I guess you could say, lower their standards, or
Yes.
they will lower their expectations, or they will do these things just for the companionship. And the
Mm-hmm.
problem with that, and when you do that, is that you're giving somebody else the opportunity to affect, because of kind of, I guess you could say, in a way, you're being selfish. And the problem with that is that when you do that, this is why people get always complain about I'm in a toxic relationship or something like that, or they're unhappy. But sometimes people purposely get into these relationships because they'd rather have companionship than being alone.
Mm-hmm.
And that is where, like you said, people tend to devalue themselves because they no longer are in this relationship because they truly want to. They're just in this relationship because they want to feel, this companionship. They want to feel somebody else with them, even if it means giving up part of themselves. But they rather do that in order to have companionship than to be alone. And, whether people believe this or not, when you're hooking up with a lot of people, if these people have issues, if they're also going through who knows how many things are in their mind, and especially if they're a toxic person, you're going to get that from them as well. Because, sex is a very sacred thing. You'll start getting the same issues that they're dealing with. So if they're a very negative person, you're going to become like that person. And it's
Mm-hmm.
something that like I say, I experienced for myself, and I seen it, and I see it in my friends. I seen it in people that I don't meet, and you could just see it from this. But it's just crazy, And I'm glad you brought that up, especially that topic, because people will do that, will sabotage their life just for companionship.
Right. Because, it's go back again to self-love, because they don't know how to love themselves. That is why they need somebody to love themselves, to give them value, to love them. They don't know how to love themselves because they don't know who they are. For me personally, some people, they will having a hard time to understand, because they really believe that I need someone to make me happy because I cannot make happy myself. I need someone. Believe it or not, so many people come to me and ask just for an advice to say, how can I love myself? What do you want me to do to love myself? And then I said, the first step you have to do is you know who you are. Because without you know who you really are, you don't know how to love yourself. And then they asked me, how do I know who I am? You do your self-discovery, I said. How to do that? And I said, where do you come from? I don't know where I came from. It's kind of funny, right? So to cut the long story, I said, you came from God. You are a child of God. And you should do whatever God wants you to do. Back again, I said, God is love. You have love. Just you don't realize it, that you have love. You've been conditioned to always relate to other people, to love you, to give you something to make you happy. And I'm asking, what makes you happy? I will make something make me happy. It's because I love him and he loved me. So I want to be together. You can't, I said, because you're not complete. You always want people to love you. You're not complete. You're not a complete person. You don't need people to love you because you're complete. I will give you illustration like 2 cups of water. And I will just put the 2 cups of water I refill with the water, just half cup and half cup. If I pour out 1/2 cup into another cup, the 1 cup is full, right? And overflow. But what about yourself? the other cup, it's empty, right? And then if you do the same thing, if you pour out another cup into the other cup, and then the other cup, it will be empty. So that is love. I think that is how you should be like a person. You don't need to be half person, because you are whole. If you are whole, if you are full, and if you are complete, whatever you have inside, like love, like respect, like honor, like whatever it is, if you just share it with other people, it will still full, because you are full, because you are complete, I said. So she began to understand, and then step by step, I teach her how to do self-love, because there are so many things in her life that I'm not saying she's doing a sin, because we are a sinner. I know we're not perfect person. We are imperfect person. So forgive yourself. If you really want to know how to love yourself, the first thing, you should forgive yourself. You admit what you have been done in your life, and then you forgive yourself. You make a commitment, I'm not gonna do it anymore. I forgive myself, I bless myself, and start to say, I'm a good enough, I'm a pretty, I'm a smart, I'm a valuable, I'm a precious, I'm full, I'm complete, I'm whole. That is what I always do every day in my whole life, because I want to always have something, or the positive energy, and it will make me to have a lot of encourage, even for myself. I think the way how to love yourself, number one, is you should forgive yourself for everything you've done in your life. You don't have to be guilty about what you've been done in your life, because we are imperfect person. We always make a mistake. We all make a mistake, Nobody is perfect. But if you really want to change, to really want to love yourself, forgive yourself, and make a commitment to yourself, and I think that's everybody should do in their life.
I agree. I was gonna say, when you say forgiveness, that's one thing I would also tell people, and especially men that are watching this, that it's okay to admit to yourself that you want to love yourself. There's nothing wrong. There's such a big stigma with men and their emotions, and it's not wrong to admit that. And if you don't want to admit it to your friends, that's fine. Admit it to yourself at least. But the number one thing is that you need to learn to forgive, not only yourself, but you need to forgive everyone else in your life, even no matter what they've done to you, no matter if you had a really horrible relationship, a really horrible parent. You have to understand that all these people learned this from someone else. They've done these behaviors because somebody else kind of taught them, and therefore they learned it. But you need to learn to forgive them. And then I would suggest that you write it down, write everything down about yourself that you don't like, everything that you've been told to not like about yourself, and then go through every single one of them and ask yourself why you don't like this about yourself. So, I'll give you an example. One of the biggest things that I never loved about myself was my big hairline, my receding hairline, and I got made fun of it for so long. And I got, especially in the military, I just got made fun of it 24/7. And it's something that made me feel so insecure. So I used to hate myself. I used to not like the fact that I, had such a receding hairline. But in the end of the day, I learned that it's actually not the hairline that it doesn't attract women. It's the lack of self-confidence from it.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I started to learn to love myself, there's nothing I can really do to change it. I could get hair plants or something like that. But you need to learn to love yourself with everything that you think is bad about yourself first before you make that decision to do that.
Right.
And that's exactly what I tell people is write down what you don't like about yourself and then review it. And then tell yourself why, try to really dig deep. Why is it that I don't like this about myself? Oh, it's because somebody else said this about me. Okay. So now you need to learn to start accepting these things that you can't change. So, yeah, you could change that. Another thing I couldn't change about me is my height. I can't change my height. But in the end of the day, it's really about learning to appreciate yourself and learning to really be happy with who you are. Um, and that might take some time for some people. It might take months. It might take years. But in the end of the day, is that as long as you're making that improvement and working towards that, you'll get there. And you'll actually start realizing, you'll start realizing how different life is. You'll see things in a whole different aspect because you'll see yourself in a different way. You'll be aiming or striving to be your ideal self. And this is what I would tell people, is that when you start matching with this person you're meant to be, everything starts to align for you. Things start to happen
Mm-hmm.
for you in the way that you wanted them to. And then suddenly, if you're single and you learn to love yourself, suddenly the person of your dreams shows up in your life because you are in this frequency that is meant to bring that person to you. And it's another thing I would say is that, how you present yourself to the world is what you're going to attract. You're constantly blaming other people, being a victim, or hating other people. You're going to attract that same person into your life instead of learning to love and loving other people even when they've done wrong to you. It's like the hardest thing for people to do. And for me,
Right.
that was definitely a hard thing for me to do, was to forgive people that really hurt me.
Yes,
And it's
right.
that was hard. Like trying to think and remember all these times and then just being like, no, I forgive you. But for me, I know that it's crucial for me to love myself, is to forgive other people and stop blaming other people for my wrongdoings. And even if somebody hurt me, I still have to take responsibility for the patterns that I got from them. You still have to learn to take responsibility, and that's a hard topic for people to accept, is that is taking responsibility for things that aren't necessarily your problem.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to. And I learned that the hard way. um, so for the guys that watch this, it's okay. It's 100% okay to accept this. And if you get pressurized like I was, by your friends to tell you like, oh, you're gonna, like, you should get with this girl, you should hook up with this person, I don't do it. If I don't want to, I'm not gonna do it, because I don't see it as that anymore. It's not who I am. That it leads to the same thing, and guys know this. This is why people get married. This is why people settle with one person, because they meet the one person they need, and they realize that one person is enough. It's just these thoughts and these ideas of lust that were programmed, that reason that people will continue to seek out other women and think that that is what they need to do, but that's not the case. You can actually learn to be happy with one person. It's
Yes,
actually
right.
true, right? That's because if you think about it, look at celebrities. How many times do you see them with multiple wives or multiple husbands? Like, never. It's always one person, So that's what I would say to that is, you know, to love yourself. It's difficult, but it's not, impossible. But when you start doing that, it's honestly the best thing that you could do for yourself, because
Yeah,
you
right.
value yourself in such a way, and respect yourself, and you start feeling the sense of gratitude and happiness, and you realize that your existence always mattered. And people sometimes don't feel that their existence actually matters. They think that, like I said, that nobody wants them, but that's not the case, right? So that's just the advice I'd give, to guys out there that are watching this, that it's okay. It's okay to admit this to yourself, because if you continue down this same path that you've been going on your life, you're going to end up with the same results. So you need to change things, and you need to admit it to yourself first, more than anything, that you need to do this.
Yeah, right. I also want to add something about forgiveness. I make the videos is about forgiveness. Actually, forgiveness is not about other people, but it's for you. Because why? Once you forgive, you're letting go of the anger, of the bitterness that you have. You let go everything, and it's good for you. You know, if you say you forgive people, but you still hold on the anger, the bitterness, that means you lie. That means you're not fully forgive that people. That is why if you say, oh yeah, I forgive him because he hurt me, but then you still get angry, you're still not healed. So this is why I always say to a lot of people that ask for advice to me, how do you forgive people that hurt you? It's simple. It's very simple yet difficult to do. I know it's easier said than done, but I always said forgiveness is for you, not for other people. Once you forgive, that means you let go of the anger, the bitterness, the things that you can't really forget about what he has done to you. But once you can do that, you let go everything, you'll be free. You're not a victim of your burden anymore, I know it sounds easy to say, I know, but if you don't make a step, forgiving is like, I admit, I really forgive you. Of course, as a person, as a human, we cannot say, okay, I forgive you. But it takes time, though. It takes time, I know. For me personally, before my ex-partner, he hurt me and I got a lot of trauma. I depressed, I take over 7 years just to forgive. It's because why? I hold on the anger. But once I decide to not hold on the anger anymore and I say, okay, fine, I'm give up with this anger, I'm give up with this bitterness because it will, block me to move forward. So I decide I forgive him no matter what. And I start to realize that we are imperfect person. So everybody can make sins. We all make mistakes. So why don't you just give another chance for him to receive your forgiveness? And it's good for me once I forgive, then it's kind of like the burden is just suddenly gone, And also I want to say about the beauty, Once I realized that I think everybody is beautiful, I heard you mention that you're kind of not confident because of your hair, right? So I would like to say, maybe this is just some advice for whoever watching this. I want to say that everybody is beautiful. And then despite of whether you are skinny, fat, tall, short, it doesn't matter. What matters the most is how you look yourself. Because you see now, we are imperfect person, okay? For me, being flawless is boring. Because this personality is trapped inside of a vessel. And when that vessel, when something happened to that vessel and we age, we got scratches, everything in between. And it doesn't make anyone less human, right? So don't ever say, I'm not good enough, I'm not beautiful. You are beautiful, you are valuable. Just how you see yourself, it's important. For me, I'm not always consider I'm beautiful because there are so many women out there who are much more beautiful than me. But I am grateful for being who I am because I believe that God has created everything beautiful. So we have to honor God. We have to say, oh, thank you, God. At least we have ears, we have eyes, we have hands, we have mouth, we have nose. Everything is perfect. Only just the way we see ourselves. But so many people, they want to look good just to please other people. And this is why I will say back again, it's about self-worth, self-value. They want people to validate them, and then they start to change their personalities, their beauty, just to please other people. And I think this is the mindset that we have to change. Without, you need people to say you are beautiful. You're actually beautiful. At the first place, God created you. You born on this planet, or you're already beautiful. So be grateful for who you are. That's the important things, by accepting yourself just the way you are. Yeah, I think that's a great message even for myself right now. So yeah.
Definitely agree with that. Accept yourself for who you are.
Right.
Absolutely. And I would also advise to people, you know, it's not always about your looks. It's not about, kind of how you show up, as in a sense, as far as the superficial. It's always about the internal. Because there's times where you meet people that they may not be as attractive that you might think they might be, or to other people. But when you start talking to them, you're like, oh my God, something about them is so attractive. And these people tend to be very confident about themselves, the way they speak, the way they talk, because they know this about themselves. And that's another aspect that people forget, is that people are very attractive when they know who they truly are. When they don't need nothing like that, that you could sense it from a person. And that's super attractive, because I've caught myself sometimes where I'm like, I usually wouldn't be attracted to this person, but something about them just makes them so attractive. And it's just like, you start realizing that it's that inner work that they're doing that makes them so attractive. And, if you're struggling through this journey of self-love, or, worrying about your worth and stuff like that, whatever religion you believe in or not, at least me and V, I do believe in God. And I always ask God to show me the way, like, if I'm struggling with something, I always ask him, God, like, show me or help me discover what it is that I need to do, or help me find what I need, in myself, in order to, like, you know, get past this milestone. And it happens. But a lot of people don't have that kind of faith. And if you do, I mean, that's honestly what I would say. And be patient, because sometimes these things take time. And that's the only way to do it, is with time. But the point is that, I guess I could say time is another issue that people worry about, because, you get older. If you're single for so long, like
We
yourself,
are
as you just
getting
said,
older.
now we're getting older, and you're worrying because, like, oh my God, especially if, if you want children and you're getting older, especially for women, it's a lot harder to conceive the older you get. And I'm gonna tell you this right now: if you're constantly worrying about that, you're pretty much making that your reality. If you're constantly worried that this is not gonna happen, it's gonna continue being that way. So you gotta let go of this fear. You gotta stop worrying about these things about being single. Who cares? And V said she was single for, I think you said 15 years. I was single for, I think, 8. So it was a long time. But what I did was exactly the same thing you did. I blamed my ex a lot for this stuff. And I had such resentment towards her, because, after that, that's when things started for me to shift in such a bad way. And so that took a lot, like I said, to have this forgiveness and forgive her and myself. But in the day, it led me to who I am now. And it's, through this whole time, you start learning that you're actually a super valuable person. Like, nobody else can determine your worth. Nobody can determine your worth. You have to be able to determine that yourself. And it's like, I would tell people, I'll use, like, Louis Vuitton. It's such a famous brand here in the United States. Louis Vuitton is such an elegant, brand. If you go into a store and ask them to mark it down for you, are they going to do it? No. Why not? Because that's what it's set. That's how you have to see yourself, as this certain price, and nobody can change that but yourself. And if you let somebody else kind of discount you, then you're kind of doing yourself a disservice. You have to set yourself at that value and keep yourself at that value. But people, like you said, for companionship, will tend to give people discounts, or 50% off,
Yeah.
because they rather have it than to not, than to not. And
Right.
that's the thing. You have to let go of the fear, let go of all the things that are bringing you down. It takes a lot of reflection and time away from people to actually do this and look inward. And that's the hardest part, because we're taught not to do that. We're taught to do the opposite. And this is why people drink and smoke and do drugs, to counter the fact that they don't know how to deal with it, or are afraid to deal with it, so they hide behind that. So I would advise not to do that, because during, like you said, when you had depression, and I had depression, I used to drink a lot. I used to kind of use that to numb the pain, instead of actually dealing with the issues that I had to deal with, because I was, unsure of myself. And so that's why I would never recommend people to hide your issues by drinking, smoking, doing drugs. It's not the answer. Literally start doing the work. It may be hard at first, but the more you keep doing it, the easier it becomes for you. Because if you're having, you know, negative thoughts like I had for so many years, you can change that. You start noticing these patterns like, oh my God, if I think, like, for example, my forehead, and I say, oh my God, I have a big forehead, no one wants me. And I continue saying that, it's going to keep happening. But when you start learning, you know, and I start reflecting why I don't like it, I was like, oh, I don't like it because people um, keep saying it. People keep telling me, make me feel bad. But in the reality, women still like me. I've still attracted women all my life, even with my forehead. So obviously, the issue isn't my forehead. The issue is that I'm relying on other people's perspective of me. And once I started changing that, and I learned that you self attack yourself, uh, you stop that. It all has to do with the way you think. Okay? I mean, things are so complex, but it really can all be changed by the way you think.
Yeah, right. I agree with everything you say. And I would like to say you must take a step back and ask yourself, are you honoring who you are and who God designed you to be? And are you honoring your self-worth? Are you honoring your dream, honoring what God has called you to do? Because once you realize that, deeply ask yourself who you are. It's about self-identification. People don't have identity. That is why they want to wear something that puts them value, like wearing the branded clothes or bag or shoes, because they have no value. There are so many people doing that because they have no identity about who they are. They are confused who they are. This is the biggest problem in the world. Not everybody knows who they are. But once you know who you really are, you will understand that God created you for, to do something that is very important for you. And it's about a purpose. You're not an accident. Just, live on this earth and do nothing. People are always tend to live, they work, they pay the bill and put food on the table. And actually, life is not about that. Life is more about that. If you really know what life is, what is your purpose that you live on this planet Earth. So for me, if people tend to do that, that means they don't have self-identity. That is why it's very hard to break the habits. People have these bad habits. For me, how to break the habits is not to tolerate with something that we over and over and over again and doing it again. So we have to not to tolerate with the old habits. And that's the way I break myself. Because I have the bad experience too when I got depression. Like you like to drink, right? I like to smoke. I like to use the drugs. I like to drink. Yes, but I'm not having sex because I don't like it. But if I continue living like that and I have no purpose in my life, so what I want to be, because I believe that whatever you create, that's who you are. So I began to realize if I always create this bad habit, I know exactly who I am. And then I start realize, no, I cannot stay in this stage anymore. This is not me. And so, yeah, I do not tolerate with my old habits. And I start to change my mind to not to do that anymore. It's hard. I know it's really hard because you need God to do this. You can't do this by your own strength, because, humans are always tend to do this and over and over and over. I think that's a very crucial,
Yeah, very true, very true. I definitely agree with that. You know, you have to have certain faith because our existence here isn't, without reason. There's a reason why we're here and came to the earth. And whether you believe or not, there is a higher being of power, and we came here for a purpose.
Right.
And so that's what I'm saying. With relationships is just a fraction of your life. It could all come through if you learn and begin to love yourself, and understanding that being single isn't actually a bad thing. It actually could be a good thing, because you could save yourself the turmoil of really bad relationships and getting into one just for comfort, just to have that companionship. You're saving yourself mental health issues that you can acquire from dating somebody that really affects you in such a bad way. And this is why a lot of people have issues when they come out of relationships, because they shouldn't have been in that one to begin with. They do it for the companionship, or they do it for lustful reasons. And that's never the answer. Do it because you already love yourself, and you know what you deserve, and you know what you need, and you don't need somebody else, but you're doing it because you want to share your world with somebody else.
Right.
Different between need and want. You can have it.
Yeah. To be honest, to start loving yourself is not the easy way. But once you realize that if there's something happen in your life, or you have so many problems in your life, that means the singleness problem. So you have to go back and find yourself, to do the self-discovery about who you are. Because once you know who you really are, you know how to treat yourself, you know how to love yourself, and it's automatically you will do the same thing. You can't love people in the same degree if you don't love yourself. That's the very important things. Because I realized that I always fail in my relationship because I always need people to always love me. If they don't love me, the whole bottom falls out, because I don't feel loved again. And I think that is not a good point for us to always find people to always love us. The first step, you have to love yourself more and more and more. And don't let yourself be a victim of people. Okay. So I'm sorry for
your
the
signal went
signal.
down.
Yeah, I know the signal is not stable here. So I want to say that love yourself is important, and do not let anybody to control you, to let yourself be a victim to other people, that if they say, I love you, do you want to be my girlfriend or their boyfriend, you have to say and ask them, do you love you? If they don't love you, that means they're lying, because they don't know how to love themselves. It's important, because if they don't know how to love themselves, you are the one who's gonna feed them with the attention, with the some kind of, I'm not saying it's a bad thing, it's you have to feed their needs, but actually you also need somebody to feed your needs, right? So don't let yourself to be the victim of them. Instead of, you have to learn how to love yourself. It's better, because not everybody know how to love themselves. So if I can just suggest to people who out there who are watching, love yourself. The key is to fall in love yourself first. If you know how to fall in love yourself, no matter when you are being alone, or nobody love you or give you attention, you are still loved. And remember, you are loved by God, and there's no reason for you to always say, I'm not good enough, I'm not smart, I'm not beautiful. No, I want to say you are valuable, you are beautiful. Everything God created is beautiful. You have to accept yourself. You have to honor yourself. You have to respect yourself, because you are something. By just be, you are something.
Yep, I agree. And we're getting close to that time, so I'm going to show you guys a little bit of our websites real quick. So if you guys want to ever get in contact with us or read our stuff, so this is actually V's page. She writes blogs, so you guys can read those. There's many great articles in here that you can relate. You know, her recent one, "You Are Perfect." We also have, you can find us on YouTube. This is V's YouTube. Look her up right here. And then we're also on Quora. I don't know if people heard about that, but this is kind of how we met. We met on Quora. So this is her page. This is where you can actually ask us questions if you have questions. You know, kind of, we're busy with our lives, but we try our best to answer whenever we can. And then this is my website where you could reach me. You know, you could talk one-on-one. You could always email me if you have any questions, or maybe want to talk to me. We could always work something out. This is my YouTube. I do many different things. And then I'm also on Quora, where I can also answer questions just like me. So if you want to send questions to us, you know, we're more than happy to answer them. And that's it, guys. This is all we had. And hopefully we hope to hear from you guys soon. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Bye.
Bye.